Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right beside me is John. That's
This guy.
you're like a millennial or something.
I guess that's what they tell me.
Hey, John, fill the gap for a second. I
Oh
got to
shit.
close my door so I don't get like lots of
Oh
noise in
god.
here.
Oh god.
Yeah, talk about something.
Okay. All right.
Introduce our guest that we
We have a guest.
in the chat. We have a new guy in the chat.
Yeah, Henry is in the chat. We stole him. How's it going, Henry? I hope you're still there. Yeah, we stole Henry from another live stream that we did that we were on. What was it? Wednesday?
Wednesday-ish.
I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, we stole Henry from what was the guy's name? Intoxicating Masculinity, which was a great name, by the way. Libertarian Christian dude. He seems super cool. He was destroying Nate, our favorite fasci Christian, in a debate about libertarianism and religion. It was pretty sweet. That wasn't
So,
fast though. I didn't even have to try to like fill that time.
so was it like you stole him? You say,
Yeah,
or
we
did we
poached him.
just,
We
like
recruited him. I
he's
guess
still
would be the nicer way to say it.
right? Because he's probably still a fan of the other show, right?
Probably,
So there you go. We don't want to
but he
taint
likes us more
anybody's.
now.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're going with?
that's right.
Do you have any proof for this?
Well, he was here. I don't know if he still is because he hasn't said anything in the chat like a dummy. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you a dummy, Henry.
You did too.
I'm just
Don't.
frustrated. That's
Where
all. I just it's just all out of love. I swear.
where's
I won't
Tinchy?
do it
Where's
again.
Midget? Where's somebody with a wrench?
Tenchi is watching Stephen Ignoramus instead of us.
Are you serious?
I know our wrench is off watching another show instead of us.
Wow,
And hey,
that's
Michael Vega's in the chat. What's up,
what's up,
brah?
Michael Vegas. So what?
Gotta
He's
you know
oh
what is what's funny is Michael Vega always shows up and then is like, "Oh hey, I'm just saying
well
hi,
he
but let
said
me
it.
go do this other activity,"
Well, he did
and
say
then leaves.
earlier. He did say point out earlier in Discord that he had dinner plans tonight, but if he managed to get a hold of some Wi-Fi, um, you know, yeah, there's no moderator, so
Yeah,
it's a free
so
for all.
you
Do
know
what you want to do.
that's right. Mods are asleep post ponies, so make sure you do that.
Speaking of moderators, it was an interesting day in the Discord channel.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Discord drama. Is that what our channels become?
No,
Update
apparently it
on the
did.
Discord
Right,
drama.
we had a little Discord drama
Make
today.
sure you join the Discord so you can get a be in
No,
touch with all the drama
but
that goes on.
what did
Ooh,
happen today? I
Michael Vega's
think
getting naked in the chat.
I'm getting naked.
Hot.
Sweet,
Mm-hmm.
sweet. He needs to make an emoji for that.
Pretty awesome.
So anyway, but it did bring up, and the nature of discussion. It's one of these things that we talk about. These discussions that we like to have. That we want people discussing things because, right? If we discuss things, we get to solutions. We get a better understanding of each other, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I guess sometimes I don't know. Discussions get out of hand. Like it's this weird thing where um, what is it? What is it, John? Whenever you want to be part of a discussion, but you don't want to you don't want to be questioned about your side of things. Like is what's is there's a term for that, isn't there?
um. Wait, where you just want to like control and dominate the
Well,
conversation and not be questioned whatsoever?
right.
Yeah,
My
that's more
opinion.
like bloviating or pontificating
Hmm.
rather than a discussion. It's a monologue, if anything, because no one else is allowed to respond unless they agree with you. So,
Well, we have discussions in Discord. I mean, there's a lot of
oh yeah.
conversation that goes on there about various topics, and we've had this has generated a debate before, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. Um, but yesterday we were having a discussion, and we were talking about the age of the Earth and carbon dating, because one of the folks in the chat, Nate Slattery, who we've had on the show,
Oh yeah.
He said that he
Oh
believes.
hey Henry, you're back. We were just
Welcome
talking
back,
about how we
Henry.
poached
What's
you.
up? You know, he's of the mind that this is a young Earth. He follows the
Right.
theory of this being a young Earth, and so of course it leads to this conversation about carbon dating. And you know, I mean, the conversation basically, you know, Nate Nate tends to have this idea that if he says it, and he, you know, even and though he doesn't do it a lot, when he does supply proof, his idea of proof, that should stand, that that's proof and that it's right. And that's fine. I mean, it's okay to take a stance of being in the right in a discussion, right? I
Of
mean,
course, yeah.
that's what gives you the premise for your discussion. That's what gives you the passion to argue um, your point. Um, but you know, there's the other side of the coin where, right, if you're talking something that the general populace of people you're talking to don't agree with, questions are going to come, right?
Yeah.
This is a discussion, right? We're going to ask you questions about this, right? We've
Yeah.
got to know. And that's where things tend to get challenging when we, you know, in trying to have a discussion with Nate, because he reaches a point. Well, you know, I've said what the facts are, which maybe we don't agree with that those are facts.
Right.
And but you know, if you want anything else, then that's that. You got to go find it yourself. I'm not going to have a discussion. You guys just don't know what you're talking about. You're dumb. This other thing, and there's where it begins to degenerate, and it has conversations have degenerated to the point where, you know, he's thrown out insults,
Mhm.
and you know, Tinchy, you know, who's in here occasionally, one of our moderators, he's a moderator there as well, and he's warned him before. You know, it's like, hey, you know, you can't insult people. This is about discussion. This is about talking about things. Just because
Right.
people don't agree with your point doesn't make it okay to call them an idiot. Because we, for the most part, everybody in the Discord server avoids doing that. Right? This is
Yeah.
not the direction we go. And so that happened again today. And Tenchi came to me and he's like, "Hey, you know," he basically said, "I don't want to be that parent that threatens something and never does it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, do what you need to do. That's why we made you a moderator, right?
Right.
And so that's, you know, this is the thing about discussion. You know, I don't want to censor anybody. I
Oh,
don't
there he
love.
is. Since you decided to show up.
Oh, so he left Stephen
Yeah.
Ignoramus to
I
come
see.
hang
Yeah.
out here.
See how it is. Just because he
Um,
didn't want to give you a wrench, I imagine.
And notice Henry points out, he says his proof, and this is talking about the carbon dating conversation. His proof was from a Christian site. It had quite a few flaws, which were pointed out by others, but I didn't want to get into it because I knew there was no changing his
Yeah.
mind. Now, right there, that says a lot. There is no changing his mind, and that's the issue in having a discussion, especially one that, you know, today was prompted, the conversation was re-prompted by Nate. So it's like, okay, you
Right.
open this door. We're going to come in the door and we're going to ask you questions. And I believe that you've pointed out off mic that it does seem like we gang up on him.
There's a lot of dogpiling that goes on, but to be fair, I think he uh, like pursues that. I think that's what he wants.
So you get that impression as well, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that first post this morning was basically just, you know, a challenge to come at me with questions. You know, to, you know, he just dropped in, boom, carbon dating is shit, blah 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 blah. And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I would pull it up, but he did get put on a 24-hour ban, as he had been told he was. So we can't see what he had said. Um, but you know, this is the problem with discussion, and this, I think, is, you know, this is where the discussions get tied up in these social justice situations. These activists, they don't want to hear what the other side has to say.
hmm
This is and uh, it's because one of the parts of the other side being in the discussion is that they're going to have questions for you. If you
right.
stand adamantly on a point and say this is true, This is not something that can be questioned. Okay, that tells me that there is substantial, tangible proof that everyone can agree on.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's going to be questionable.
Right.
And
And
don't be surprised if everybody's going to question it. You know.
right. Yeah. Um. I don't know. It's hard with him to kind of pin him down, and I don't want to talk too much about him because he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, I wish
Um.
I wish he was.
Yeah,
I
he's not
don't.
banned in the chat, so I
No,
mean,
he's not banned in the chat, and he's not.
yeah,
It's not like he's banned on
he's not
Discord.
permanent.
He talked to Tenchi for a while afterwards, from what I
Yeah.
understand. And this is to be honest with you, I do get the feeling that some of it, a lot of it is grandstanding. Like
I
even
think it's a
pushing
lot of
Tenchi,
trolling as well. I think it's a lot of trolling.
there's
It's a
some
lot of he
trolling in
wants to
here as
come in
well.
here, stir shit up, and then leave. Like, that's
Right.
kind of what he does, you
And I,
know.
you
So
know, and the thing that's been he's pointed out multiple times is, well, have get me on the stream and I'll be glad to talk, but I don't
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
sitting here going into it in this chat. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody else is willing to have the discussion here.
right.
So
Or you
are
could
you
just jump into the
just
voice chat channel,
so
on the Discord. We have voice chat. You can just go in there and talk about it. There's no need to have a stream every time, for every burp and fart.
right?
Yeah,
So that brings me to question. Okay, well, how firm are your beliefs? Anytime I feel someone is pandering for attention, then I have to question further the beliefs that they're espousing.
yeah,
Because, okay, so how invested are you in this topic that you're discussing,
right.
or are you invested in 15 minutes for the day, right?
Yeah.
Um, so,
I
um,
personally think he just finds it like edgy and subversive, and then wants to, try and poke the bear, poke the nest or whatever, stir shit up.
my, Michael Vega, he wants to address on stream that he really did talk like the pastor in Pure,
I've never seen
which
Pure, so I don't know.
it's a show on Hulu. It's kind of like Breaking Bad, but it's a minister in a very
Mm,
it's not Amish, but very very tightly Christian society. I haven't looked at it enough. Michael, can you tell me what the sect is that they belong to? Mennonites.
Mennonites.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So not far off from Amish, but
Right.
in the dedication, I should say, not in the necessarily in the beliefs, but in the dedication to their religion. But it is kind of interesting that the guy does look and does espouse narrative similar to Nate.
More conservative Amish, basically, but not the same. So they're not communists
Wait,
because
so you can
Amish are
be
pretty much
you
communists.
can be more conservative than Amish.
Well, they're communists. Communists are pretty fucking far left.
They're not communist.
They are communists. They share all their resources and
Hold on.
shit.
Sharing is caring. That's not communism. That's
That
Amish.
is communism.
No, that's just good
Yep.
manners. That's just
It's
good
communism.
manners.
It's communism. That's all it is.
So is sharing
Communism.
a bed with your wife communism?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm a communist.
Yep. Sure is.
I believe Henry calls it socialism.
It's the same thing. It's just a different label. It's all communism.
So,
You're either a libertarian or you're a communist. That's it. There's no in between.
so I'm just going to put this out there. Maybe if maybe Nate will watch the show. If not, but there are people that are part of the chat. Um, you know, Nate's opinions, Nate's beliefs, always welcome in the chat. If you want to
Yeah, of
talk about it,
course.
if you want to have open discussion about it, but hey, we're all educated. We're all smart enough to figure out what's going on. We're all smart enough to be logical. But we're not going to tolerate insults. That's not what it's about. It's like I said, mocking is one thing. We all have enough skin to take a good mocking.
Yeah, I don't give a
But
fuck.
when you blatantly insult, well, we can't. That's not a positive discussion. It's not
I mean, I
functional.
personally don't care about that either. That just means that the discussion's over. That you obviously nothing further is going to be discussed, so you might as well just get into a pissing contest, and that's fun. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy exchanging insults with somebody online.
And I just in case you didn't point it out, I did want to point out that Henry, being new to the Discord server and to the show, to the chat, he is officially our mascot trans ginger.
Yes, yeah,
Correct? We have designated him as the token trans ginger
right.
in the for the generational gap. Uh,
Let's see. The removal of his previous messages was purely accidental, by the way. It said exactly what it was, but I didn't read it fully. Said it. I saw it said 24 hours and what it was, and delete last 24 hours of info. Gotcha.
yeah.
So yeah, we've got fair clarification is what I was looking for. So yeah, Nate will be back at 10:30 in the morning tomorrow morning, and everything will be fine. Henry says, "Yes, Queen. Yeah, Slay Queen." Can that be made a title in the Discord? Like I'm a cool guy. No, Michael
Ooh.
Vega cannot.
We could we you don't we could put a level
No,
in there for tokens,
that's horrible.
and
I don't
then
think that's a
and
good
then
idea.
we would make Henry our first token.
Wouldn't Michael Vega technically be a token too? Pretty sure
No,
he's some sort of ground persuasion.
he got qualified. No, no, he got qualified as a cool guy. So you know.
Yeah. See, cool guy was supposed to be just for YouTubers, but I guess we're not gonna do that now.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So no, and see, that's what I'm saying. No, we don't need to put Henry into the cool guys. We need to put Henry into his own classification of token. He is a mascot. How about a mascot? You know, we can have multiple mascots. He's our first trans ginger mascot.
uh, can't give everyone their own role,
I
but
didn't
we can
say
talk about that off. We
everyone.
can talk about that off fucking air.
I
It's not due.
yeah. It's like the coolest thing ever to have a transgender ginger. Who else has got one?
Wow, you totally mistransed him. How dare you?
Stumble. It's just a stumble. See,
And yes, Henry, you are special, just like the other 7 billion people on the planet.
you got to pay your dues, man. You got to pay some
That's right.
dues.
You've been in here for 2 days,
You haven't
man.
even been banned.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, step it up, man. Get it on our level.
So, John, some interesting things in the news this
What?
week. Some minorly interesting things. Did you see that Mr. Mueller, came out and talked to the press?
Whoa.
Not
Mind blowing.
You're not impressed with anything Mueller has to say. I get it.
No,
Um,
I just totally checked out of this whole Trump Mueller possible collusion Russia bullshit. I really don't care. I'm over it.
yeah.
It's been 3 years of this nonsense and nothing has happened except for some people have gone to jail for totally, non-related things, and they're going to be in jail for 3 weeks, and that'll be it. And then who cares? They go back to doing the same shit they were doing before. It doesn't. None of it matters.
Oh, then we just won't talk about it.
I mean, we can talk about it. I'm just letting you know that's my stance on whatever is about to follow. 'Cause it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Trump's not going to be impeached. Trump's not going to be arrested. He's not going to be put in jail. He's probably going to get reelected next year, and then there you go.
Well, I was glad Mueller at least came out and said his piece because they've been
Yeah,
demanding
yeah,
he go in front of Congress and talk to Congress. And
right.
that
Which was
was
pretty nice. He went up there, was just kind of like, "I already said it, bitch," and then flipped him off and left. That was pretty sweet.
he's more like a mic drop, maybe. I won't be taking any questions.
Yeah,
But it's. I think the only thing, the only real thing that troubles me out of it, because like I've said, yep, it's going to be a bad move if Democrats try and impeach him because it's just going to muddy the waters for 2020. Like Pelosi said, it's better to take him out as president.
yeah.
But it's this idea that no matter how often Mueller says it, Trump doesn't get it. The only reason charges weren't brought against him was because they can't be. And Mueller made that clear. He said it multiple times in the 10 minutes he spoke. We could not charge a sitting president. You can't do it. So there wasn't evidence to circumvent that. There wasn't, I mean, we didn't have what we needed to circumvent because you can't circumvent it
Well, what charges was he saying that could be brought
for
on
the
him?
obstruction.
Obstruction?
For the obstruction. And there's
Yeah,
and whether anybody wants to blow that off or not, there have
yeah.
been lawyers and judges on both sides that have said those actions were grounds to pursue obstruction charges. In any other case, those would have been grounds because if you try and obstruct an investigation, that's part of the justice process. So, I mean, it's not, okay, I get it. If they're not gonna impeach him, if nothing's gonna happen, fine. But this idea that he keeps, blowharding, oh, no evidence, no obstruction. Well,
Right.
that's not what
I
it
mean,
fucking says. That's not what he's been saying
that's his
repeatedly.
style, though. That's what he
Right.
does, right? That's his style. So, I mean, did you expect anything else? I mean, everything is proceeded according to like predictability, how it's all gone down before. They say, oh, he's literal Hitler and evil and Satan and needs to die, and then he's
Well,
like, nah, bitch, and then that's but it.
well,
No one knows anything else, anything further.
so I can and Henry's make some good points. That it was wasted
Wasting
tax
resources.
dollars, and it matters in that it's taking up time and resources instead of
Yeah,
dealing with real issues. However, I
right.
will say this: while I understand that the Mueller investigation took 2 years and a lot of fucking money, and I agree that very early on, when it started getting to the point where they're like, we need to look into obstruction here. Right then, that's when they should have said, okay, we've got to stop because we can't do anything about this if there's something here. And that investigation should have been turned over to Congress immediately,
Hmm.
which it's their job to pursue to investigate for possible impeachment because
Right.
then you can charge somebody with a crime. That's what should have happened. He should have turned it over to Congress as soon as he realized that there was a potential to charge the president with crimes that he wouldn't be able to charge the president with, even if it was there, even if the evidence was there as they uncovered it. Then the money could have been, yes, the money would have still been spent, but it would have been spent by Congress, and it would have been Congress doing their fucking job because that is their job. Even them looking at it now, it's still them doing their job because that's part of the provisions that are set aside for them to, handle checks and balances.
Hmm.
There's the butthurt part of it where 2 years of investigation went on and all that money got spent that now makes it look like Congress is just going to waste more time and money.
Right. Of course.
But Mueller can't impeach. He can't recommend impeachment. He can recommend
Right.
Congress take up the ball if they believe it's necessary, but he also can't charge. He was fucking hamstringed from the get.
Oh shit! Midget B showed up. It's been a while, bruh.
Ooh,
Where
now
you
I need
been?
my attention.
Ooh, your attention, please. He's about to serve you, I think. Serve you drop some knowledge bombs on your ass.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, Midget B showed up, man. We've been worried. Thought maybe something happened. So what do we, I guess we're gonna wait on Midget to finish his thing?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's got my attention.
Right, but then we're gonna just kind of dead air until he finishes typing,
Right.
so.
So, but ultimately, I mean, that's where I think the failure was. When he knew he was hamstringed from both sides, boom, he should have handed it off to Congress. Would you agree with that, John?
Sure, yeah, that's fine. Because obviously that's what they need to do, right? They need to be the ones who,
They should have been the
determine
ones
whether or not.
investigation, right?
Well, they did also investigate, yeah. Midget says if Mueller had brought obstruction of an illegal investigation to the notice of Congress, it would have brought the source of the investigation to the fore. Um, Bad News Bears.
Okay,
That's funny because there's a
so
lot of
I
bears to watch the
understand.
show now.
I understand that everybody wants to call it an illegal investigation, but I still have
Well,
trouble with that because basically the executive branch told him to investigate it. Trump's branch of office told him to investigate the Russian involvement with the election. The executive office. So if it came from there, that's the other part that I'm like, why is Trump always saying this is an illegal witch hunt when his branch initiated the investigation via Mueller? I'm confused on that.
yeah, I don't know all the particulars either.
I mean, I just, like I said, I don't understand how that makes it an illegal investigation when it's your branch. If you shut the fucking investigation down if it's illegal, your branch initiated it. Why didn't you fucking
See,
shut
he
it
can't
down?
because as soon
He
as he
could.
did,
He said
that would
many
have been
times I
obstruction.
could have shut it down, but I didn't
Well, yeah,
because I
yeah,
wanted
he
to
didn't because
allow
that
them
makes him
to
look
go on.
guilty.
Right.
That makes
Oh,
him
is
look
that what it
guilty.
is?
Yeah, and Midget, he says he knows the particulars. Well, Midget, it would be fun if we had you on the show, but too bad you're too boomer to know how to use your mic. No, he shut off all mic functions from his computer, so he
But I
can't
mean,
do
that's,
shit.
ultimately, this is, all of it aside, it just boils down to the fact that, yeah, Mueller fucked up by not handing it off to Congress and let them do the job they should have been doing in the
Next
first.
weekend, he says next Friday. We can do that. We don't have anyone on next Friday.
Speaking of next Friday, let's talk about this Friday. John, do you know what Sunday is?
I do.
What is
I
Sunday?
know it. Sunday is the 1 year anniversary of this show, and us being here with all of you, fine people for the most part.
June 2nd, 1 year ago, was
Yeah.
our first lame recorded episode,
Oh, it's fucking awful too.
voice episode. Most views of any videos, but
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't
I
know
don't know.
because
It's
it's
also
nothing.
largely from India and Pakistan, which is weird. I don't know why.
We're very popular over there. It's our Bollywood
Apparently.
style.
Yeah, apparently. And yes, also Beauty and Beta with Soph. Yeah, that's right. They're gonna have Soph on
Who? What?
Beauty and Beta.
What's the
She's
soap?
like a 14-year-old like conservative YouTuber who was very, very edgy, very like red pilly kind of channel. And she got banned from like YouTube. No, I don't think she got banned from YouTube. I think she is just not able to upload anymore. So that's going to be awesome to get that interview because she's been like smeared in the media and all kinds of shit. Yeah, and Midget B brings up a good point about the Streisand effect. I had never heard of her until she got fucked, and not obviously in a metaphorical sense,
So let
but
me
but yeah,
let me
so
ask
that'll
you
be fun.
something.
But
When we talk about minors,
hmm
all right. So she's a 14-year-old girl, okay, and give her props for if she's educated on politics, this kind of thing. Um, but she's not old enough to vote.
right,
So, to the general American, to the voting Americans, how much weight should her voice carry?
as much as the merit of what she's saying should carry. I mean,
You
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 brought the
you see the point I'm trying to make,
okay.
right?
So is it just minors that you're talking about, or is it
Well, not
anyone
only
who's not allowed to
if you're
vote?
no, well,
Right?
no,
If you're a
no,
felon
not
and you can't vote, should your
no, not about
voice
not
not
being
matter?
not being allowed to vote. It's not able to vote. Not an adult. Not considered an adult in our society, right? You're not
hmm
considered an adult,
Right.
and you can't vote, right?
hmm
So, do those factors play against someone in her position? Like, what you know, what amount of respect do adult voters need to give, and how much, I mean, does that not leave her open to be banned? I mean, she's a minor
Yeah. Well, she
talking
is old enough
about
to have a
adult
YouTube channel.
issues.
She is old enough to have a YouTube
Sure,
channel by YouTube's
sure.
TOS. Um,
What was the exact reason she got banned? Do you know?
um, she did some video. At least this is what I've heard. She did some video like in a hijab or something, talking about how great Islam was, but obviously very sarcastically. It was really funny too. It was really good. She's actually very good at what she does. Um, but as for what you said before, I mean, she deserves whatever weight people are willing to give her. Whatever she deserves the respect that people are willing to give her. And yeah, obviously, I agree that it opens her up to being slandered by the media, right? But the thing is, the hypocrisy behind it is what I have problems with, right? Because when the whole Stoneman Douglas shooting happened and stuff, and David Hogg and his little cadre came out and started, talking about gun control. Anytime someone would go, against them and say, "Oh, they're stupid, they don't know what they're talking about," it was all leave them alone. They're kids, right? They're kids. They're just minors. They don't know what they're talking about, right? Then someone comes out on the other side of the argument, and they just get trashed. Same thing happened with the Covington kids. They just get absolutely trashed, and they're the same age as David Hogg was at the time. And then now with Soph, who's even younger, she just gets completely trashed, right? So there's obviously no consistency whatsoever in what they're doing. It's just pushing a narrative, and that's blatantly clear, and it's becoming clearer and clearer every day.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question from a parental standpoint. I know you don't have kids, but
Yeah.
um, so in a climate like we have here in the United States in the present day, politics, social justice, all of these are very volatile topics.
Hmm.
We've seen what can happen with doxing,
Hmm.
and the dangers that it can put people in. So, is it responsible for a parent to allow a 14-year-old to put divisive content on the internet? Is
Right. That's up to the parents, I would say. I mean, she obviously got the way she did somehow. Most likely her parents. Probably a mixture of her family and videos that she's watched online. I personally would not allow my kid to do that until they were much older. But that's not up to me, right? That's up to the parents.
well, so
And yeah, Michael Vega's right. There's that libertarian cowardice.
so so there was I want to say it was last year. I want to say it was last year. There was a young girl, and I can't remember her damn name. She was like 9 years old,
Damn.
and she was on YouTube, and with and I think it with her brother was doing videos with her, this, that, and the other. But she was doing this whole big pimping thing. She was like, with money and cars and talking pimping
Oh,
and drugs and all of
Lil
this, right?
Tay, right?
Little
Wasn't it Lil
Terry, right?
Tay?
And
Lil Tay, yeah.
right, and her parents
I remember that. Yeah.
were pushing and prompting and you know. So
Yeah.
when you have things like this, and like you said, if it were my child, I wouldn't do that. So we have parents that are going to think this way,
Hmm.
and the next step is okay, so if I wouldn't do this, now do I see that as abusive? So now we get into the question of whether or not parents allowing a child to do that is a level of abuse. Especially, now in the other sense, little Terry, she was being prompted. She was being, kind of pushed and driven to do this, by,
Hmm.
but, you know, this question comes up, you know, allowing this kind of thing, putting your child in harm's way, allowing your child to go into harm's way in an environment where, you know, people will look for you these days. People will expose you if they can.
Yeah.
Is that abuse?
Um. Wait, is it abuse to just encourage your kid to do things that are kind of untoward, or
To
like what?
allow it, right? You
Yeah.
are you are the band hammer in a home until that
Right.
child is 18, right?
So I don't think that's abuse towards the child. I think that's just irresponsibility
Okay,
and short-sightedness on the parent's part. It's a
sure.
failing of the parent.
Right. And though,
Absolutely.
but understand that in many instances that irresponsibility it has been argued translates into an abusive situation, right? By allowance. You allow your child you to put themselves in danger. So therefore that is, turned into or twisted or spun into a type of abuse. Um, is so like you said, if you were a parent, you wouldn't necessarily want your child doing that. Um, is it foolish for her to be on the internet at that age?
100%, yeah.
You think it's
Absolutely
foolish, right?
foolish. Yeah.
Now, do you think that's true of any kids that age on the internet, or specifically if they're delving into uh, volatile topics?
I would say for the most part, it's pretty foolish to be a content creator. Probably even under the age of like 20, I would say that's pretty foolish. Because I mean, one, you don't have any life experience. You have no fucking clue what you're doing. You're not able to protect yourself as much as you would if you knew better. Yeah, there's a number of reasons, but I think it's, yeah, absolutely foolish to to put yourself out there before you're ready to be put out there.
See, I used to, with mine, my two young ones, I had a very strict policy and this was when we were, a full
Right.
family unit. Um, things like, if they got on the Xbox or they got on a computer, they could go online and play games.
Hmm.
But there was I drew the line. There will be no talking to
Mm.
anyone out there. There's not. The only games that they were allowed to play that I would allow interaction were games like you remember Club Penguin, where it was all
Mm-hmm.
canned responses. Like it was specific stuff that you
Hmm.
could say. There was no chit chat going on between people because there's fucking predators out there, and I didn't
Oh
want
yeah,
I'm
hundred
not
percent. Yeah.
I'm not gonna so I had those kind of responses to it.
Tinchy
Um,
says pool's closed. That was Habbo Hotel, you hack. Come on, man.
uh, Michael Vega says Xbox Live Chat truly made him into the man he is today, and this is what I'm trying to show is the real problems. I mean, look at what look at what it did to Michael Vega.
I know,
Um,
poor Michael Vega.
right?
He was such a sweet boy before he played Modern Warfare 2. Now he's a filthy degenerate.
So that's you know um, you know I mean what if providers took that these platform providers took that angle and said we banned the girl for her own good.
Mm, I mean, it's within their rights to do it, right? To ban someone if they want to. Um, and it might even be, you know, from their perspective in her best interest. Um, so, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? But she's obviously gone over to BitChute, I think, and so she's gone to an alternative platform, and she's still on Twitter, and all that.
I
So, I
really
mean, she's still out there, but I
I
don't
I,
know.
I really do hope that it would be nice if her parents took a more active role in you know censoring, cordoning off, what she's allowed to do. I mean, if you talk about her getting on as a 14-year-old child in a hijab, mocking and making jokes, yeah, you're opening a door there. That there's some crazy sick fuckers out there.
Oh
They
yeah.
won't care that she's 14 years old. They won't care. They'll just feel insulted. They'll just feel like they can, do whatever they want. And I don't know. That's scary shit to me. That's the kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and but what you said before about like her parents taking an active role in that, I think they are actually in an active role. I don't know for sure. I've seen that, like, that one video of hers, but the way that she's able to articulate and all that. Not saying that a 14-year-old couldn't do that. It seems very much that her parents are actively encouraging, if not helping her make these videos. So I don't know.
See, and then of course, that puts my mind back to little Tay, that kind of situation.
Right.
What are the parents in it for? Right? Are they in it
Oh yeah.
for the betterment of the child? Because again, 14 years old, getting out there, putting yourself into a contentious arena like
Hmm.
that, mm, that's a big fucking mistake. I think it really is.
Yeah.
And like you said, if the Parkland shooting kids, all the things that went on with David Hogg and the doxings and everything, if that wasn't enough incentive for you to be a little more controlled about what your kids are doing online, well, you're a fucking dumbass. Yeah, I'm sorry, you
Hmm.
just are. But it's Tinchi brought it. It brings up. He says, "I'm curious though. Now that Twitter is considered an official form of communication for the president, um, is Twitter banning any American citizen infringement of free speech?" Now, I will say this: I don't. It, I mean, are we? Is it the official form of communication? Because the White House has a presence on all social media,
Well,
and
it says
that's
an official, not the official. So it's one
an
of
official form.
the official. Yeah.
I mean, when you say an official form, that's, I guess, official is the thing. I mean, it's like, do you see that at the White House? Do they have a sign now brought to you by the official social media of the White House is Twitter? Because I don't think that's the case. And
I mean,
remember, Trump doesn't talk through the presidential Twitter account. He talks through
hmm
his personal account.
right.
And, but even Twitter said that they're not afraid to ban his account if they feel it's necessary.
Remember that one disgruntled Twitter employee that did that? Banned his account for like, I think it was like 30 minutes or something, 30, 45 minutes. It was banned before someone noticed and restored it. But yeah, he was like on his way out or something. It was just like, fuck it, ban. I thought that was pretty funny. I'll give it to him. That was pretty good. Nice way to go out with a bang, you know?
Yeah, what's interesting about what he says on Twitter, and I got to thinking about this, ultimately he really doesn't say anything bannable
No.
because his tweets are more like a semi-educated 12-year-old. Like they're more schoolyard calling people
Haha, you're a
names,
duty
sticks
head.
and
Yeah.
stones kind of shit, right?
Right.
And making fun of people, almost bullying in a sense, but not even breaching bullying, I guess, as much. Um, but no, Tenchi, I don't think it would fall into that category. I don't think you could go that route with it because technically, unless it was owned by the government, unless the government
Well,
funded it
see,
completely, it would not be the official.
well, I mean, so the argument is though that because Trump banned a couple of people from seeing his account or they blocked them, a court ruled that he could not do that because it violated their First Amendment right, violated their ability to reach the president. And so the
Right.
argument can be extrapolated from there that banning any American on Twitter would do
Mm.
the same thing, would not allow you to be able to reach the president.
Well, I will say this: A, to the second point, no, that's not true because you can still have access to the president through Facebook. There's still a White House presence there.
Yeah, but he's not on
Just because
Facebook.
he doesn't use it. Now that's where it gets in. He's choosing to use his personal Twitter account
Hmm.
to speak as the president. So,
Right.
his account, his personal account must be protected under free speech because he's
Right, but
speaking
that
as the
argument has
president
already
through
lost in the
through his
court.
hold on. No, no, I'm saying his account must be protected in as far as not being able to ban people. We must protect the ability for people to see the president speak through the channel he's using on this
Hmm.
platform. So
Right, there
no,
you go.
you can't ban them from your personal account if you're going to talk as the president through your personal account. But any American can be banned from Twitter for violating terms of service. Even though the president is on Twitter, he's also on other avenues. So they're not stopping them from having access to the president himself, to White House correspondents, this kind of thing. They're just banning someone based on terms of service, and they have
Oh, I'm
specifically
all white
said
again.
that they can ban Trump's account as well, his personal account,
I
if they
doubt they
find
would.
he
It would.
crosses a line, because he cannot officially demand that Twitter make his account a presidential account. You know what I'm saying? He can't do that. He
I
can't
see what
make
you're
that
saying, but
demand.
again, no, he's not making the demand. It's just that that's the medium that he chooses to use, which is why the ruling was made on his personal about his personal account rather than the White House
Sure.
account or by the
Sure.
or
And that was more
Cody's
about what
account.
he could do and could not do. It was not about, free speech on Twitter
Right,
as a whole.
but again, the argument is that by banning him from that platform, or banning someone from that platform, then they cannot, see the president's tweets or
Yeah,
interact with the president because he's not using Facebook, right? He's not
but
using Instagram or any of these other bullshit.
but it's apples and oranges. They're saying he, as an individual, cannot block people from seeing what the president says if he's going to be using that channel to speak as the president. He does not have that authority
Well, no, I'm not
to
saying
block
he
people.
does.
No, that's what I'm
Oh
saying. That's what
no,
the
no,
ruling
yeah, that's
said.
fine. Right, that's fine.
And that
But
does not
I'm
speak
saying
to
the argument.
Twitter's ruling ability. And that's the thing. That's where the line is. It doesn't speak to Twitter's ability to enforce their terms of service. That's not banning free speech, and that's not banning access to the president. That's banning you from a platform
Well, that's the thing.
that
Are they a
is
platform or are
one.
they a publisher?
It
And
is
that's where we have to get
well, sure, but they don't
that
pub.
distinction from them.
Well,
They want to
right,
be
they
both.
have to
That's the
determine if they're
thing.
a publisher,
Yeah,
right?
they want to be both, right? Yeah, they want
I
the
guess
good
I
things from
guess
both
the I
sides.
guess the thing that kills me about it is that they have the option. They shouldn't have the option to call themselves a publisher because they don't publish content.
Right.
They don't publish it.
And
Other people
Henry says,
publish it
"Fuck
through.
that." Henry says, "Fuck that." Coors Light looks delicious. It's not. It's just kind of beer that you want to drink if you don't want to get drunk.
Yeah.
That's all.
The only good thing about Coors Light is that the cans are recyclable.
And they have these little numbers on
No,
them.
no, that's it.
No, see little numbers on the top, and you can go to Coors.com and put in the little code that they give you, and you get that amount of points, and you can get cool Coors merch, like koozies and backpacks and duffel bags
And
and shit.
what have you gotten from them?
Nothing.
So you don't even use those cool points to do
Nope.
anything.
I don't want
So
Coors
then why
Light
point it
shit.
out as a benefit?
Someone else might. Someone else might want it. Not everyone thinks exactly like I do. Unfortunately, if they did, it'd be a much better world.
But to my ultimate opinion on Twitter and free speech is controlling what they do and don't do as far as their terms of service. I mean, you're asking them to violate free speech by controlling them one way or the other, by telling them, I mean that they have to allow these things, right? I mean, that's the government stepping in and starting to control the First Amendment. They're a private platform. Now, again, like you said, now that they've opened this can of worms, publisher or
Yeah,
platform, which is the stupidest goddamn thing.
yeah.
Um, don't leave this distinction open to them to have to make. Don't allow that argument. You know, they're a platform. Treat them like a platform. Treat them like a private company, and be done with it. You're not supporting them, so you don't get to regulate them except from a business standpoint. Make sure they're not embezzling. Make sure they're not breaking the law. But outside of that, fuck trying to enforce free speech.
Yeah, fuck free speech. You
I
heard it
said
here,
try
folks.
fuck trying to enforce it. Because the minute people
Oh man.
ask for the government to enforce this shit, the government says, "Okay, we're going to start enforcing it completely."
Yeah, good.
That's where it'll always fuck up. Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of the
Whoa,
government, we you know
government.
there's been this whole wall thing going on, right?
No. What about a wall?
You haven't heard about the whole wall thing?
No, I've never heard about walls
I
before.
think
What's
you
that?
have, John.
Oh, damn.
I think you're lying.
You're on to me.
So we've had this wall thing going on, right? With Mexico and Trump wanting to get a wall built.
Hmm.
And now we're going to see tariffs. Trump put it out today. There's going to be a 5% increase, tax or tariff increase,
Oh no,
whatever.
Corona is going to be more expensive.
Right?
Oh no.
Okay.
Boo.
So the Mexican president sent a letter to Donald Trump, and I want you to hear it, and you tell me what you think. I've got it on screen here. You know whether you can see it or not. Otherwise, you'll have to go into Discord and find it
Yeah.
because I'm a slacker. But so just to give you a little taste of it, or it's not long. So this is coming from the president of Mexico to Donald Trump, and so you tell me what you think, John. It says, I am aware of your last position in relation to Mexico. In advance, I express to you that I do not want confrontation. The peoples and nations we represent deserve that. In the face of any conflict in our relationships, however serious may be, we will resort to dialogue and act with prudence and responsibility. The best president of Mexico, Benito Juarez, maintained excellent relations with the Republican hero Abraham Lincoln. Later, when the oil expropriation, the Democratic President Franklin D. Roosevelt understood the profound reasons that led the patriotic President Lázaro Cárdenas to act in favor of our
Wow.
sovereignty. What?
You sound white. That's all.
Great. By the way, President Roosevelt was a titan of liberties. Before anyone proclaimed the four fundamental rights of man, the right to freedom of speech, the right to freedom of religion, the right to live free from fear, and the right to live free from misery. In this thought, we put our policy on the immigration issue. Human beings do not abandon their villages for pleasure, but out of necessity. That is why, from the beginning of my government, I proposed opting for cooperation for development and helping the Central American countries with productive investments to create jobs and resolve this embarrassing issue in depth. You also know that we are fulfilling our responsibility to avoid, as far as possible, without violating human rights, the passage through our country. It is worth remembering that in a short time, Mexicans will not need to go to the United States, and that immigration will be optional, not forced. This is because we are fighting corruption, the main problem in Mexico, as never before. And in this way, our country will become a power with a social dimension. Our countrymen will be able to work and be happy where they were born, where their relatives, their customers, and their cultures are. President Trump. Social problems are not resolved by taxes or coercive measures. How to convert the country of fraternity overnight to the world's migrants in a ghetto, in a closed space, where the right to justice is stigmatized, persecuted, expelled, and canceled. With effort and work, live free from misery? The Statue of Liberty is not an empty symbol. With all due respect, although it has the sovereign right to express it, the slogan United States First is a fallacy because until the end of time, even above national borders, universal justice and fraternity will prevail. Specifically, Citizen President, I propose to deepen the dialogue, seek alternatives to the migration problem, and please remember that I do not lack courage. I am not cowardly or timid, but I act on principles. I believe in politics, which, among other things, was invented to avoid confrontation and war. I do not believe in the law of Talion, in the tooth for a tooth, or in the eye for an eye, because if we go to those, we would all be toothless or one-eyed. I believe that statesmen, and even more so the nation, are obliged to seek peaceful solutions to controversies and to put into practice forever the beautiful ideal of nonviolence. Finally, I propose that you instruct your officials, if you do not mind, to attend representatives of our government, headed by the Secretary of Foreign Affairs of Mexico, who from tomorrow will move to Washington to reach an agreement for the benefit of the two nations. Nothing by force, everything by reason and law. Your friend, Andre Manuel Lopez Obrador. So, what do you think about that, John?
I like the last part he said. I think that there should be a lot more discussion between the two governments. Absolutely. As for the rest of it, it was just kind of it's a lot of like platitudes and like empty, I guess like empty gestures, really. But like I said, the last part, which I think is what he was really trying to build up to, is true. You know, they should be talking to each government. You know, the government should be talking to each other, try and figure out the best way to facilitate it. Because obviously, the wall itself wouldn't do everything, right? It's not going to stop all illegal immigration or all trafficking of any kind. So obviously, that's part of it, but there needs to be steps taken on both sides of the border to kind of solve this.
Sure.
And oh shit, Stephen Ignoramus is in the chat. What's up, brah? My favorite ignoramus.
You know, in my opinion, he really, I think I kind of got a drawing a line in the sand from this. You
Mm.
know, it's he's like, how are you solving this problem by throwing people into, ghettos and sanctuary cities and this kind of thing. How are you helping? We're trying to make efforts here. We need you to
Yeah,
see that we're making efforts here to alleviate these problems that you say are coming from Mexico. We're trying to fix that. Recognize and understand. you know, I think he very clearly stated, I'm not going to put up with your shit. Come to the
that's
table
fine.
and talk.
That's what they should
Right?
do. Yeah,
Right?
100%. Yeah,
So I got to give him props for that. And Tenchi pointed this out. It was very well written. I mean, it
yeah,
was.
it was.
I can see a couple. Yeah, there's a little bit of a language barrier in a couple of places, whatever. But it was very diplomatic. This is the kind of diplomacy that I'm talking about. This is the kind of diplomacy that we need, and this is the kind of diplomacy that we need to try and execute to a certain extent. This this idea that we're going to browbeat a country. You know, I mean, Mexico, for all intensive purposes, is pretty close to a third world fucking country. And you're going to beat
Yeah,
them about the head and shoulders because people want to get the fuck away from there.
right. He's saying fuck
Right?
their country. I
Right.
mean, yeah,
So now the country now it's like the country's like, okay, we want to fix this so our people want to stay here. But you being a dick, maybe that needs to stop, and maybe you need to sit down and have some conversations with us instead of just blowing gas.
hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree that representatives from both governments need to sit down and try and figure out how to solve it on both sides of the border.
Is it possible that we could, the money that, for instance, that he wants to spend on the wall, how much better off how much would that money be spent by investing some of it into Mexico in helping them root out this corruption, root out these issues and problems, right? So that they can be something more than a place where Central Americans pass through to come to America. You
I don't
know,
think just giving them money is going to help.
I didn't say just give them money, give them aid, give them help. Go in and
We
say,
do
okay,
that
how we
though.
can help. Do we? What? How do
Yes.
we help them?
I don't know how much we give them like all together, but yeah, we give them aid and stuff. Yeah, and most of it gets taken by the cartels and distributed amongst themselves. So I mean, they have to fix the corruption before we can start fixing or
Sure.
helping to fix them.
And
So most of it just goes to waste. I
and that's
mean,
and
it
that's
goes to
what
bad people.
that's what amazes me we will go and stick our people in countries around the world to help them get rid of corruption and get their shit together. Because what? They have oil.
Well, no,
They
we
have
usually we
something
usually
we
install
want.
we install our own corruption there, and remove their corruption and install our own corruption.
Sure. But that's the guys we
Yeah,
go under, right? We want to help
sure.
them get this corrupt government overthrown, whatever, however we want to spin it for whatever location it is. I mean, but for God's sakes, if this is a national emergency, well, fucking send some folks down to fucking Mexico. Send people. Send
Yeah,
people
let's
to
just
go in
annex
and
it.
teach them and train them, like we did in Iraq, and like we do in other countries. Why?
Yeah,
Why, if
let's
this is a
annex it.
national emergency, let's help them.
Right, let's invade and then annex
No,
it.
no, send them
Yeah,
some
and we'll
troops to
then we'll fix it
assist.
up. Then we'll fix it up and we'll sell them to I don't know, sell them back to Spain. That would be awesome.
Why aren't we? Why don't we go in there and
Henry makes a good point
help
here
them get
too.
rid of the cartels?
Mexico needs gun rights and let the people get rid of the cartels because they're not fucking happy about it either.
Sure, but you've got to get rid of the cartels before you can open up gun rights. Like, does that
Nah.
make it make? I can see the logic there, because if you open up gun rights, that's just going to be an even wider door for the
Right, because
cartels to get
right
more
now,
hands.
as it is right now, only the cartels. So it's a much better situation.
Well, I think I don't understand why we don't send contingencies of troops and help eradicate cartels that are sending drugs into this country.
Because
I
it's not our business. It's not our country. It's
but
not. We're not
right
being asked to do so, and so we're not. That would be an
we
invasion. That would be an act of war if we just sent troops over
okay
there.
no well we wouldn't just send them, John. We would have a discussion with Mexico and get them on
Okay,
board
but
with
yeah,
us
they
coming
haven't
in
asked us
like we.
to.
Since when has somebody had to ask us for us to go in and suggest it?
Since if they don't have oil, then they have to ask.
Oh, is that what
Unless
it
they have
is?
some, yeah, unless they
Well,
have something
this
we need
letter is asking for something similar to
for
that.
talking.
It's
Yeah, and I
yeah,
agree with
which
that. I
is
think we
where
should.
that would
Yeah,
begin, is through a discussion, John. Right?
yeah,
Going in and helping them with the cartels would begin through a discussion. So we have that opportunity. They're asking for a discussion. They're asking to come to the table. Let's talk. Let's
right.
figure this out. Will he do it?
We'll find out.
No, I'm asking what you think. Will he do it?
I don't know. I'm sure somebody in the administration will. I don't think he will personally, but someone will.
Well, see, and isn't that the mistake in that he makes in his administration? Look at how it's failed in North Korea. They think Pompeo's a fucking chump, or Bolton. Was it Bolton or Pompeo?
It's
Both of them.
Pompeo.
Pompeo. They think he's a fucking chump. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing because, Trump won't have the talks themselves. He's too good to sit down with another world leader and do this. He's got to pass it off to somebody else.
Hmm. Real power move, yeah.
It's, it's,
Of course, it's going to piss them off because they think that Kim Jong Un is literally God. So of course, it's going to piss them off that
it,
he's not willing to show up
it's
himself.
right. That's shit diplomacy, though, John.
He showed up twice, and the first time went well, and the second time he
No,
got
he
up and
said
left.
the first time went well. The first time accomplished dick.
Yeah, of course, it didn't accomplish anything. We went through this during the
Yet he
show.
said it accomplished
About when we
everything.
talked about it. Of
I
course he
know.
said that. Of course he said that.
Right.
No, I've already told you how
That
this
doesn't make
works
it
over there.
okay to fucking put that shit out there,
It
John.
does make it
No, it
okay.
doesn't.
Yes,
No, it's not
it
okay
does.
for the president
Yes,
to
it does.
lie to the American people.
It does when you're
Is it
conducting
okay?
politics in Asia. Yes,
So
Asian
lying
politics is
to
all
the
about
American
respect.
people is okay. Is that what you're
A-
saying?
Asian politics are completely different. I've explained to you. I've explained this to you maybe like 15 times at least.
The
At
same
least
politics
on
he
how
pulls
they
with
work
the
over there.
Asians is the same politics he pulls with
No, it's not.
everybody else in the world. He's doing the same shit to China as he's
No.
doing to Mexico.
Yeah,
Tariffs and
China.
taxes.
China is Asian.
Asian, yes. He's doing the same thing
Yes.
to Mexico. He's using the same politics with every
He's not trying to
country.
get. He's not trying to get Mexico to stop having nuclear arms. He's not trying to get
It
Mexico
doesn't
to
matter what
open
he's
up
trying to
their
accomplish. He's
to
using the same tactics.
reunify.
It's the
No, he's not.
tactics, John. It's
He's
tariffs
using
and
different
money.
tactics.
But how you deal with Asians is respectfully.
Yes, unless they disrespect you, and
How
then
did
you
they
can't take
disrespect
that.
him?
Who? Which one?
How did North
China.
Korea disrespect him?
They disrespected Pompeo,
No,
which
how
is
did
why
they
you.
disrespect Trump enough for Trump to disrespect them?
Yes, they disrespected Pompeo. They disrespected Pence
When?
just before the first one. That's why it was delayed. Remember when it was delayed? Because he said, "Oh well, we're not going to go now because you disrespected my people." And because if he had shown up, and I've explained this to you before, if he had shown up, then he would have been coming from a place of weakness and cowardice. So his job was to not show up, say, "I'm calling the meeting off because you were disrespectful." And then by Kim Jong Un then saying, "Okay, well, let's do it anyway," not really apologizing, but saying something nice and saying, "Hey, let's do this anyway." Then now Trump is coming to the table from a place of power instead. That's how
Is
these
he?
work.
Is he?
Yes.
Because, but that power that he's coming from, that place of power, has gotten us nowhere.
Yeah, of course, it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it hasn't happened in 2 years.
Yeah, it hasn't happened in 60 years or 40 years, 50 years, 60, yeah, 50, 60 years.
Okay, so
It's been a very
so
long, drawn out negotiation.
in his intellectual dealing with Asian culture, two wrongs still don't make a right. And B,
Yeah, they do though,
he
obviously.
that doesn't no, it doesn't, because nothing right has come from it. And he lied
Not
to the
yet.
American people by
Oh
saying
my
this was
God.
a done deal.
He said what they said, which was that they were going to start dismantling their nuclear facilities, which is what they said they were going to do. Now, if they didn't do that, obviously, that doesn't mean that he lied. It means that he was saying what they said they were going to do, and they didn't do it. They lied.
No, what he lied about was when he said he walked away from that first deal with an agreement from North Korea for full denuclearization. And when he went to the second fucking meeting, they're like, that's not what we said. And the talks stopped because he
Yeah,
lied
he
about what
left.
they said.
He left. Yeah,
But in the
he
first
got
meeting,
up and walked out.
they didn't. They claimed they did not agree to full denuclearization in the first meeting.
Right. And we know that Kim Jong Un is obviously the paragon of integrity and truth telling, right?
Neither one of them is.
Hmm.
Because do you
Which one do you think lies more? I'm
Trump?
on. Do you really think Trump lies more?
Trump lies every fucking day. They keep
So
a
does Kim
tally
Jong
of
Un.
how many times he's lied in his presidency. I mean,
So then
Jesus
you believe
Christ.
that Kim Jong Un has no butthole? He doesn't poop, doesn't pee. That the North Korea has gone to the sun. It was
Do
like an
you?
18-hour round trip
I'm
to the
sorry.
sun. They brought back sun rocks to
We
prove it.
we have 4chan, and you believe everything. Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
where's
Yes,
you
that's what I'm
believe
trying to
he
tell
said
you.
that shit?
I do
And if
believe
he
he said that.
did,
Yeah,
no, it's nothing different than the kind of shit Trump
it's
says.
totally.
I'm the
Yeah,
best
it's totally
fucking
different.
deal maker in the world. Nobody makes a
Oh
deal.
my
When I
God!
make a deal, it's a deal for life. That deal is good.
Wow.
Just like the fucking deal I made with North Korea that's
Okay,
gone no fucking where and nothing's happened. Because I'm a
Jake
great
from
deal maker.
Jake from Freedom Scoop is here. He says no butthole. That's correct. Kim Jong Un does
I
not have a
mean,
butthole.
how about that's the biggest fucking lie he's told since he's been president? I make the best deals. When I make a deal, they're good deals. Everybody makes bad deals ahead before me. These are good deals. I make a good deal. I come away and we win. I win when I make a
Okay,
fucking
I'm not
deal.
trying to say that Trump tells the truth all the time. In fact, a lot of the time he doesn't. What I'm saying is that he's not as untrustworthy as Kim Jong Un.
Okay. Well,
That is ridiculous.
I'm just going to say when you walk away from a meeting with someone that we are potentially on the verge of going to war with,
We're already at
you
war with
don't
them.
bullshit about what happened at the meeting.
You
And
do when
then,
it fits. Yeah, when it helps you negotiate, you do.
and what has it helped? Tell me what it's helped. Where are we at in North
The
with
same
North
spot
Korea?
we were in before, pretty much.
So it's done nothing.
Except for it's mostly South Korea and North Korea talking, and we kind of stepped out of it. That's why you haven't heard anything about it in forever.
I
'Cause we're
still
not
keep hearing
directly
things. They've been
involved.
firing missiles. They've been testing things.
Yeah, of course,
They
that's what they
and
do.
they're still
Oh
calling out.
God,
We need some.
it's the same shit
They're
that they've
not
been
supposed
doing.
to.
Yes.
They're not
Yeah,
supposed
of
to be.
course they're not supposed to. They're testing, right? They're a child who's testing their boundaries.
Are they? Is
Yes.
that what they're
Yeah,
doing,
that's
John?
exactly what it is. Yes.
And guess what? That tells me that he has succeeded in nothing with North Korea.
Okay.
And that's my point. This blowhardery about how he's being so successful. I mean, the economy is on an upswing, yet people, 70% of our population is still living paycheck to paycheck and couldn't come up with $500 for an emergency if they needed to. So, how is our economy on such an upswing and we're still going into a deficit? What
Well, of
you've
course we're going into a deficit. Yeah, there's no way that he could do that in one term. There's no way he's
no,
gonna.
but that's not.
I mean, come
It's
on.
not the point. The point is like how much smoke can you blow up our ass
I don't know.
to
The
try and
economy's been
convince
doing
us that
better.
everything? What about the
Sure.
economy's doing better? Prices are going
Okay.
up, but wages aren't. Yeah, people are
Wages
getting
are absolutely
jobs.
going up.
Are they
Yeah.
really?
I mean, I don't have the sources in front of me, but
I mean, I
yes.
look at a company like Walmart. Okay, great. They increased wages for their employees across the board, and they cut hours.
Mm-hmm.
So they balanced out. They actually balanced
You
out
got what you
making
wanted, didn't
money.
you? Yeah, you got
Making
what you
money.
wanted.
No.
You wanted wages to go up. That's what
No, I
happens.
didn't ask for wages to go up. What I asked for is for the cost of living to balance. And if that requires that wages go up, well, you can't force wages to go up except through the minimum
Right.
wage, which a lot of people argue, and so it becomes a contentious point.
But then when the minimum wage goes up, the same thing that you just mentioned happens. Hours get
Sure.
cut.
Sure.
If you're working 2 hours and 2 hours a week at $30 an hour, you're making $60 an hour or $60 a week.
How about this
I
idea that
mean,
the tariffs, the trade war that's going on, is beneficial to Americans when it's not?
it would be over a long period of time, not immediately.
You under do you what do you think the goal of this tariff trade war with China is right now? What do you think his ultimate goal is?
Oh, here we go about Jake from Freedom Scoop here. They don't have nukes and we aren't at war. Those things are good. It's like preventative maintenance. If you don't drag North Korea along, we will either go to war or they will gain nukes. Right, they really don't have nukes. They try to test missiles, but they suck.
You know,
And then
but the whole point is if we keep
that's it.
sitting there letting them let the pot stew, they're going to keep working on fucking nuclear missiles.
Yeah, and then as soon as we sent our fleet to the Sea of Japan, they kind of backed the fuck up and, their dick shrink back into their body where it belongs.
If anybody wants to sit around and think that they're not continuing on with what they're trying to do,
I mean, maybe.
it's foolish. They've built more than they've dismantled. Um,
As for the trade war stuff, I don't really know. It's not my area of expertise, like a lot of this stuff. But,
he said it in the
I
he
mean,
said
maybe
it
he's
in his
good.
campaign. He said what he
Yeah.
wanted to do, and I
And so
I
you have to
believe
give
that
him
this
that
is,
then.
huh?
And you have to give that to him that at least he did the thing.
Hold
He's
on.
doing the things that he said he was going to do. So, I mean, you
No,
can give that to him.
you didn't let me finish. He said in his
Fine.
campaign what he
Hmm.
had an intention to do, and these tariffs, this trade war that he's building, is designed not not to get into this shit with China so much, is he's trying to force American manufacturers
Right.
out of China. And he will make it bad on consumer spending here in America through tariffs to where I believe that's his hope is that it's going to force these companies to come back to America for manufacturing. But that is not a quick fix. That is not going to happen fast. And that's going to take a toll on the American consumer. Or will it? I mean, tariffs are not good on either side, right? So, I mean, how long can we sustain it? How long can we sustain the increased cost of goods from these tariffs?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not an economist, so it's not really like I said, not really my area of expertise. But
Well, how long is your income going to be sustainable as costs begin to rise? I mean,
well, seeing as I just got a huge raise, probably pretty good. Probably better sustain it for a while.
so a 20 so if like this idea that over the next year or so we could see a 20 to 30% increase in costs on many things that we use, That's not gonna be an impediment for you.
Not if we can bring taxes down, get rid of the Federal Reserve. Exactly.
But
Yep.
these are Republicans we're talking about. When taxes are lower cut in a Republican regime, it usually only impacts the
See, that's
upper
the thing is that's the thing is that a
incomes.
lot of people have this like mistake of thinking that just because they didn't get as huge return, that means that their taxes didn't go down,
Well, I
right?
understand
What it
that.
is that not as much is being taken from your
Sure,
paycheck
sure, I get
every
that.
time,
I get that.
right?
But
So people
typically,
say, "Oh, I got the same I got last year. I got less than I got last year." Okay, but less you're having more money throughout the year, so less is being taken from you.
right.
And that's what people don't
But
understand.
at the same time, those tax cuts included major tax cuts for the wealthy.
Okay.
So
Oh no.
so now you're cutting taxes for the wealthy and at a higher rate than you are for the lower incomes, which is typical for a Republican administration. When
Well, yeah. I
tax
mean,
cuts
they're
come through, it usually benefits the wealthy
Um,
because
I
they
mean,
believe in a trickle down theory.
I don't know how many Republicans actually believe in trickle down. I'm pretty sure that was something that was just created. His trickle down, I don't think works really.
No, it
And
doesn't.
I'm not a Republican either, but obviously, but
Right. And
no,
the
I don't think a lot of people think of trickle down as is defined by the people who use that word. I don't think that that's not what they believe. I don't think that that's what they believe at all. I don't think they believe that if you just give all the money to the top, then they'll pass out money to the bottom. That's not
Well,
how
it's
that
not about
works.
it. No, the idea is that if the upper levels have the money, corporations and the wealthy, when they have more money, they'll spend more money, thus putting it into the economy, which will go into wages for lower classes, which
Well,
will
they
go
certainly
into
do that.
spending for, that will help the lower classes. So it's getting the wealthy to put more money into the economy through spending because they're not having to pay as much in taxes. But it doesn't work because the reason why people are fucking wealthy is because they hold on to their shit.
They
And
still
most of
also
this,
spend more money than anyone does day to
they
day. They spend more
spend,
money.
however, I will say a lot of the money that's spent by the wealthy is credit. They
Okay,
have
yeah,
unbelievable lines of credit, and eventually that gets paid off. But
right.
a lot of what the wealthy buy is on credit, which is not
Okay.
in ultimately. I mean, that's not quite the same as spending your cash, as it were, right?
I mean, it's pretty much the same, right? Because I mean, you're spending credit. That means that that person is taking money that they don't have yet and using that money to purchase their own things, even though they don't have it quite yet, right? It's all credit. It's trust. I don't like it. I don't like credit at all. I don't have a credit card, and probably never will. Um, But so that's the idea of it, right? Is saying I'll pay you later, and they say okay. Then they go to someone else and said, hey, this guy's going to pay me later, so I'm going to use some of his, the money that he owes me to buy this other thing, and that passes it down the line. So that's kind of the idea of it.
Well, and bear in mind, another thing that I've seen that wealthy people will do is instead of buying things, they rent, they lease, right? So they may lease a home, a fully furnished home.
Hmm.
They don't invest in the furniture and stuff. Like they say, the money that they do spend, and I'm not talking about day to day spending. Everybody does day to day spending. I'm talking about money that they actually spend, large chunks of money. Those are going into investments, properties, things like this that they're
Hmm.
holding on to. And yes, I understand some of that money comes back into the economy, but even Henry points out, we're talking about numbers in a computer, right?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of this boils down to is numbers in a computer because, I mean,
Hmm.
we couldn't really just print off all the money that everybody has, right?
It would cost more than it's worth. Yeah.
Right. So this idea, but that's the idea is that the more money the upper income has, the more money they're going to spend, and thus the lower income portion is going to have more money. However, the problem that you run into is even if you were to call it the top 5% as opposed to the top 1%, 5% of the country, even wealthy, is not enough to trickle down enough money to have an economic boost to 95% of the
So
country.
hang on, because isn't the 1% like $250,000 a year and up? Like it's not even. It's not like it's multi billions of dollars a year. It's like 250,000 a year is the 1%.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, like what is that's not wealthy. It's really not that wealthy.
Trust me, $250,000 a year, if you're living the right way, that's more than wealthy. I mean,
No, it's way more than you need. Yes, to
right,
live, right? More than you
right.
need to
And,
survive.
and,
But
and
it's
by our
not. It's not
terms,
ultra wealthy. It's not. These are the people that like Bernie will villainize.
well, I'm not trying to, and I wouldn't
And I'm not
villainize those
saying you
people.
are. I'm not saying you're
I'm
villainizing.
just saying they fall into the percentage of people that the trickle down economic theory covers.
Right. They're usually small business owners and things like
Sure,
that. Yeah.
right. And this idea that that 1 to 5% having enough money to trickle down, that they're going to spend enough money to trickle down to 95% is a
But
fallacy.
if we talk about the small business though, that is how that works. Like my boss owns a small business, right? And if he's not making money, he can't afford to then give me a raise to do the work that I'm doing. And then obviously I'm going to leave to go to someone who does a similar job and make that money there.
Okay.
So it behooves him to make sure that I'm happy, and not just me, right? But everyone else who works for him, to keep them happy so that they continue to be productive and make him even more money,
Right.
right? Because if we add more, accounts, then we get more money, but it's also more
Sure.
work for us, which means that we get paid more. We need to be paid more because we're doing more work,
Sure. I get all that, John.
right? So
But
I'm
when he
saying that
saves money
that's
on
a.
but if he saves money on taxes,
Mhm.
that may or may not benefit you.
It absolutely would, because that way he can buy the tools that we need to do the job that we do. It's a lot easier for him to buy the tools that we use on a day to day basis
It's
that we don't
true.
have to pay for out of pocket.
It's true. Or it could be looked at as a bonus.
It could be, and I get
Right.
bonuses, yeah.
That's well, no. I
So I
mean, looked
mean,
at it as a
I'm
bonus
saying
for the
what I'm
owner.
saying is that can work. Oh well, yeah. I mean, but he doesn't. Yeah.
I mean,
I
right?
mean,
You've got
I'm
to look
saying
at
he
you've got.
does pass it on.
I mean, we have to bear in mind that one snapshot of one business owner is not the model for every small business owner out there, right? There's small business owners out there that aren't necessarily taking care of their employees as well as they could.
Yeah, and they'll fail.
They may,
They're going to fail.
there may.
Because the people aren't going to work for them, and there might be,
It,
or it's going to be like a revolving door of people coming in, realizing it's shit, and then leaving.
but as long as there's somebody there to run the business, you'll always find somebody that'll take bullshit wages. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
sure,
That's the benefit to having, 50% or more of your country making below, $50,000 a year. You'll find people to take that wage, you know,
sure,
and work the job for a while. Yeah, and
for a while.
I'm not saying that businesses will stay successful if they follow those practices, but this idea that every business owner, you know, everybody in the upper echelon is going to spend enough and put enough money back into the economy to boost the lower incomes, it's a huge fallacy. It's a huge fallacy. So many economists looked at it and said, no, it won't work. 5% of this country cannot support 95% just through their spending. It's just not
Sure.
plausible.
Yeah,
It,
no, I'm not arguing for that.
no,
I'm just
no.
saying that is an example. What the example I gave is just an example of it working. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good system to have
Yeah.
overall.
And
You
but
know,
and in this mindset, from that mindset, you've got to take away that even if a company's paying taxes, that should still be the approach that they have to their business, right? You take your profits, you reinvest in the business, you reinvest in the
hmm
people, because people are the most centric part of any business for now.
right?
So it's important, right? Um,
Hashtag Yang Gang.
because your small business owner pays taxes, I'm sure. He's not an
Yeah,
Amazon that can get away with nothing,
yeah,
right? So, he's doing
sure.
these things while under the burden of taxes. So, it stands to reason that if his taxes are cut, he's going to continue to do it. You know, it's funny you brought up Yang. Now Yang keeps talking about this other way. The opposite though. His talk is about a trickle up economy. And that's
Yeah,
he talks about it with the UBI, of course. That now
right.
that three however many millions of people have $1,000 in their pocket, that goes into the economy. That pushes the economy up. That pushes dollars upwards into corporations and to companies. So that's a trickle up economy where you now have this flood of money every month coming into the pool and surging upwards. And the
Yeah, but the
mindset.
problem with that is it's the same money that you just took from the top. So you're just recirculating the money.
Well, he's not. No, he's given it to the top. He's taken it from businesses in the VAT, and I understand
That's what
how
I'm
you
saying. He's
feel about
taking
the
his
VAT.
businesses. Yeah, VAT tax is retarded. But
I
so he's
know.
taking the taxes from the top, like I said, giving it to the people at the bottom, and it's just going right back up to the top.
Now, ultimately, you say the VAT tax is retarded because it's just another thing that increases costs.
It's another thing, right? It's another thing that increases the prices. And so even if you're getting that extra money, you're still gonna, be paying the same amount. You're still gonna have the same amount of money. It's gonna even
But you
out.
don't believe in the competition of business enough to think that
Oh, I
that
do, but
would
it's
level
hard to
out
have a
or
low.
drop down.
I do, but it's harder to have a lower price when you have to cover the VAT tax. When you have to pay your taxes, you have to be sure that that the cost of the product is going to be able to cover the
Sure.
tax, plus have enough to left over to help you pay wages and hopefully turn a profit as well.
And the beautiful thing is, Trump is setting him up for it. Trump is setting anybody up for it, actually, with
Hmm.
the trade war.
Yeah,
Because now we're going to have companies getting used to paying more money for the import export of goods. So they're already going to see something like that. So, somebody like Yang or whoever else comes in and says, fuck this, we're going to drop all the tariffs. We're just going to throw in a little 10% VAT tax. We'll balance it out for everybody. Companies are going to be like, oh, great. I mean, I could see that, right? It's like, oh, God, 20, 30% in tariffs. Oh, fuck. Oh, you just want 10% VAT? Okay, we'll come down to that. We're good.
So Jake from Freedom Scoop says, so let's get rid of social safety nets and instead give a UBI. Yeah, I mean, while I that would be preferable, I don't think you're gonna see the American people willing to give up social safety nets in exchange for UBI. Even if you explain it to them properly, the opponents of it or whoever's proposing that is just gonna say, well, look, they're trying to take away your welfare. They're trying to take away, all this kind of stuff. So I don't think that's gonna work.
Well, I do like Yang's approach to it when he talks about these, when he talks about those programs that are in place. And he basically says, look, we're going to go to a person if they're on welfare and they're already getting more than $1,000 a month. Okay, you don't have to worry about the UBI. You make your choice. You want to stick to the
Mm.
welfare program. Others that aren't making that much, they can say, okay, I'll drop welfare and I'll go for the UBI. So the expectation is a lot of people will be dropping off of the welfare system to take advantage of the UBI, which is a benefit to a certain extent. It won't kill the program, right? But it may have a significant impact on it. If it were to happen. I mean, of course, this is he's the long shot, much like what 19 other Democrats in the race.
Right.
Most of them are long shots. I believe right now Biden and Bernie are the two main
Yeah.
points of
Old
light.
white men.
Isn't it sad that that's what we
Yeah, it's
defer? We
always
wind up
old
going
white
to?
men.
Why?
Yeah, because I mean, even the left can't deal with it. They just love old white men. No matter how much they say they hate them, they love old white men. Uh, see some chat stuff, but might give me that. Yeah, Midget B's right. That's what they would do. And yeah, Jake from Freedom Scoop says, well, that's because those people who don't understand it suck. Yeah, unfortunately, most people suck. I mean, most people don't understand, and most people suck. And those might be correlated. I don't know. I haven't done the research yet.
You haven't?
Uh, no, I don't know if there's a correlation. I don't know whether or not correlation is causation. I just know that most people suck and that most people don't understand it. But I don't know if those are correlated. Not
So
sure.
so John, you kind of have a mid kind of a middle of the road stance on the UBI though, right? You're for a UBI if taxes go away.
If federal income taxes go away, your property taxes go away, the estate
Whoa.
tax goes away.
Why
Oh
property
yeah,
taxes?
because it's your property. You're not renting it. You shouldn't be renting your property from the government. That's ridiculous. That is your property.
Okay, but it is to fund the community. It's for
No,
schools
it's
in
not.
the
It's to fund the government.
okay.
You can
No,
fund
my tax
schools.
dollars that I
Yeah, I
pay on my
understand that it
house
goes.
is supposed to be apportioned to schools
Yeah.
and funding within the community.
How's that working out for you?
Well, I mean, we get
Right. So
reports
you
about
should
the money that we get
voluntarily.
reports about the money that goes to schools. You get
Yeah, how the
those when you're
schools
a taxpayer and you own a home and you pay property taxes.
the schools
You
are looking
find
pretty
out
good,
where
aren't
that
they?
money goes. We have good schools here. There are bad schools
Mm,
just like everybody everywhere else, but we do have good schools here. We have Boone High School is a public school and it's one of the top rated schools in Florida. So when you sit around and say, "Do we have good schools?" Well, you know,
not generally. You might around
where?
you,
How
but
many
not.
do you have experience with to call that ball?
I went to school in Florida for
How many schools in
most of it.
Florida did you go to?
I went to an elementary school. I went to two middle schools, one of them being a charter school. I went to two high schools in Florida, and then one in South Carolina as well. Um, so what is that? Four schools in Florida that I went to.
Four or five.
Well, no, one of them was in South Carolina. So like the
Oh,
last 2 years
yeah.
of school, I went to
Okay.
a military school in South Carolina.
So out of the entire four schools in Florida that you went to, they were all shit.
Except for the charter school.
Okay.
The rest of them were shit. Yeah.
And shit from the standpoint of the education or the
Yes.
structure.
Yeah. But the
Which,
education and the buildings
like you
like
were in
being
old
run down
buildings
and
that needed to
garbage.
be,
Yeah.
and have those schools been updated since you were there?
I don't know.
Ah, because
Well,
money
there's a
over
school that
the
I'm thinking of at the moment that I know is still garbage. I'm not going to say it over the air because it's going to give more of a hint of where we are because I'm not that far from it right now. It's the county high school that I'm in, if that gives you a hint.
uh-huh.
So that one is still garbage and has always been garbage and will forever be garbage.
So then that means in that community there
And
are
here you
not
go.
enough.
Midget B says 50% of Jacksonville third graders are to be held back this year.
You can't. No child left behind. Don't do it.
Yeah, see, that's ridiculous. George Carlin had a good bit about that. How originally it was, give kids a head start, and then it was no kids left behind. Somebody's losing fucking ground here. That was old Carlin. He's great.
I mean, from the standpoint of property taxes, like the house I used to own before this one, the elementary school that my kids went to was a block and a half away, and in the time that I lived there and paid property taxes, that school was remodeled, redone.
Hmm.
So I watched
Yeah.
my tax dollars from property taxes at work. So this does happen.
Sure, I'm not saying it never
I
happens.
mean, from an educational standpoint, well, that's got nothing to
Right,
do
but
with
you
the
don't
money.
need. Right, but you don't need a property tax to make that happen.
How
It's
would
not
you
like
pay
that
for
wouldn't
the schools?
happen with the sales taxes. All the other taxes that we have tons of taxes. Why do you need that one in particular? Why are you so like adamant about
Well,
that
I just
particular tax?
because property taxes, as I said, are one of those things that are very community based. Those are paid in for a reason, and I
So is
understand.
sales tax.
Huh?
So is sales tax,
No, sales
which is
tax
the
is a
which is the
state
one
thing.
I've.
A
Okay,
state.
no, it's also a county thing.
Well, sure, they get to determine how much, but that's money for the government. That's money
Yeah, it's all
specifically
money for the
earmarked to do for
government,
the government to do what they want. Whereas, you know, property taxes are earmarked for specific things, and that's what the money's supposed to go to.
right? But does it
Whereas
really?
your sales tax can kind of just go to everything. You know,
Yeah.
um, and I mean, but this idea that
But no,
it's
but
gonna.
again, the principle of it is that if you buy land or a house on land, right, that is your land. You shouldn't be renting it from the government, which is what you're doing when you pay your property tax. Because what happens if you don't pay your property tax?
So you call it renting.
Yes.
I see it as, yeah, I guess I could see it as a form of rent because I'm paying
Mm-hmm.
to have property within city limits
Mm-hmm.
or a town limit or whatever the the zoning
Right.
is, right? I pay to park there. It's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
car in a
You
parking
you
lot. You
pay you
pay to
pay to
park.
collect your stuff.
You pay to park in a parking lot, right? Well, I pay to
Hmm.
have my house parked here.
Right. You pay to have a roof over your stuff
I mean,
over there.
because ultimately, you say you shouldn't have to rent your property, but
No, if you
that's
choose to rent
saying
someone
nobody
else's property,
owns.
fine.
So nobody should own property
No, no
to
one
sell
does
it.
own property right now.
So you shouldn't be able to buy property.
No, of course you should. I'm
Okay,
saying you should own your property. You should be able to buy your property.
okay.
What I'm saying is that you don't at the moment. In the current system, you do not own your property. Your house is not your house. You get to stay there at the government's convenience.
Well, unless they need it, right?
Right.
Right.
Other than that, you can live there. You're
And now,
allowed to live there. It's not yours though. Don't. That's just a delusion that they allow you to live with.
is that it?
It's not yours.
Yeah, I understand how eminent domain and all of that works, um, but you know, it it's the cost of living somewhere. That's just part of the cost of living.
We live in a society, right?
I mean, America owns this land. You got to buy it from somebody.
But if you do buy it, does that not mean that it becomes yours?
Oh, I've never been under the impression that I'm buying the property that my house sits on. I've never made that mistake of thinking I'm buying the property. I buy the house. I don't own this property. This is the city's property, and I pay to use it. I pay to have a house on it.
God
See,
damn.
that's the mistake that people make is they think they're buying property.
Right, that's what I was trying to tell you. And then you argued with me until you figured out that
No,
I was right
I'm
about
saying
renting
that
it. You're just
it's
renting.
no, I'm not renting the property. I'm just paying to use it. Is that renting?
Yeah, that's the definition of renting.
Okay, so it's necessary. Property taxes are necessary.
I don't think they're necessary.
You can't own the land, John.
Yeah, you can.
How?
And you certainly should.
But somebody owns it ahead of you then.
Yeah. Whatever
Who?
developer bought the land to build the houses on would have owned it, and they would have bought it from probably the government. The government would have owned it originally,
So
right?
the
Because they
government
had to have.
owns it
Right, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yes.
and they've never sold it. When a
No,
construction company buys property,
right.
they buy the rights to build on the property. They don't buy the property. That's just it.
Oh
It's never
God.
sold. And you shouldn't be
No,
you
no, what
can't.
I'm saying is that you should be able to buy it. I'm not arguing with you that you're wrong. I'm saying that you should be able to buy it. That is my argument.
So, you should
That
be
it
able to.
should be yours
Why?
because you purchased it.
So you can do
If you're
whatever you
purchasing
want with the
land,
property?
yes.
Anything you want with it.
As long as you're not violating someone else's rights, as long as you're not spilling over onto someone else's property, yes.
Wow. That sounds like a chaotic fucking place to live.
I mean, it doesn't because most people wouldn't do anything unconventional with. And if someone does, then people around them are going to be like, "What the fuck's up with this guy? We're not going to talk to him."
So you think
He's just
homeowners
going to be the crazy.
associations are evil?
Yes, I don't like homeowners associations. Now they have a right to exist, right? Because you have a right to not move into a neighborhood that has one. You don't have to live with one, and you have to sign a piece of paper saying I agree to live in this neighborhood that has one.
But see, now Henry
But yeah,
says, what if?
homeowners associations are fucking bullshit,
See,
man.
Henry
Yeah,
says, what if I buy a plot of land that is empty? Why should I pay property tax? It shouldn't.
right.
It's theft. But you would never buy it. You don't. I don't know. How does that work outside of urban areas? When you get out into the fucking sticks and in the country, do you still pay property taxes on just a piece of land? I guess you do to the
Yeah,
state ultimately, or
yeah,
whatever county you're in. So
yeah.
you're never actually buying property.
No,
No,
no.
but you have the right to sell it.
Well, you have the right to let someone
Re,
else rent it.
re, re, you have the right to
Hopefully get some.
release it, right?
Right. Hopefully get some of your rent back.
No, it's no, it can be confusing, right? And that's the whole point to me. Trying to confuse the issue is this idea that we don't nobody owns
Yeah, and
any
that's true.
land in this country.
Henry's makes a good point. You get taxed on that sale too. It's true.
Do they add sales tax on a property
Oh
sale?
yeah.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
guess
yeah.
they
You
do.
get taxed. You get
I
tax on when
guess.
you buy a house.
Well, that's just your first round of property taxes, though. That's
Yeah,
that's that's the taxes you pay on that
that's your
sale.
that's your security deposit.
Right. It's your first round of property taxes that you're paying.
First and last month's rent. Yeah.
What'll fuck you up is
Yeah.
if you don't file for homestead.
Oh my God. Of
That's like an extra a few $100s on your monthly house
course.
payment
Of course it is.
if you fuck up and don't do homestead.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
See, fuck that, man.
What?
See, Henry's got it right. Taxation is theft. Boom. We've determined that tonight.
But see, you say that, and then you say, "Oh, sales tax is fine."
Yeah, because
That's
it's
theft.
voluntary. There's a difference between voluntarily giving something to someone and them forcing you to give it to them.
What if I'm
It's a
okay with
difference.
giving my income tax to the government?
Then you're okay with being mugged.
Wait, if I voluntarily
There's still
give
a gun to
income
your head.
tax, is it still theft?
There's still a gun to your head just because you're smiling while you're giving your money over. You're not being robbed.
Okay,
Like,
so it's still theft, even if there are people who are okay and want to pay an income tax to support the government. It's
yes,
still
because there's still
theft
a
to
gun to your
them.
head. There's still coercion. Yes, you're still being coerced to pay. So yes,
Okay, so all taxation is theft.
I didn't say that. I said
That's what the
voluntary
mindset is.
tax.
Because see, people don't say specific taxation is theft.
Well, because
They
that's
say
it's a
taxation
motto.
is
That's
theft.
why
Sure,
it's a motto,
but
right? So
it's a
it's not going to be asterisks that go along with that, right?
There needs
There's
to
not going to be a
be.
ton of like, taxation is theft except for when this happened.
Right. Well, there needs to be because think about it
Well, no,
this way.
the main
How is
point of
it
saying
how
it is to start a discussion. That's the main point of saying it.
sure
That's the main
and you,
reason. And just to make people laugh, or to laugh yourself while people get pissed off at you. That's another reason to say it.
so it's a
Just
troll
'cause it's
comment.
funnier.
It has
No,
no
not
meaning.
always. No, it's used as a troll comment often,
Right.
but
So
it's not
thus
itself a troll comment.
it loses its value
No, I don't think so because it starts a
because
discussion
it's a
about
fallacy in and
taxes.
of itself. Taxation is theft because if you say it like that, you're saying all taxation is theft.
No, that's not what you're saying.
You very much say taxation as a whole is
Oh my
theft.
God.
It's point
Well,
blank.
actually, if you look in the 1913 dictionary,
What
that's
does it
not what
say
it
about
means.
taxation?
That's actually the same year that the federal income tax came into existence.
It's more about the
That's interesting.
grammatical structure of it. It's the
Yeah, I don't really care
implication
about
that if
the
you just say
grammatical.
taxation, you just say the word taxation, you've now blanketed all taxation.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
sales tax would be
Okay,
theft
fine.
as well.
Sales tax is also fine. No taxes whatsoever. All
So
taxes are theft.
all taxes
That's
theft?
what you wanted me
No.
to say, right? So that's
No,
what I'm going to say.
I'm pointing out that that's what that statement implies,
Right.
and it's your great conversation starter because then you have to backtrack and go, well, I didn't mean all taxation. What I mean is certain taxes are theft, other
Okay,
taxes are
so
okay.
it's also closer. It's more accurate, I think, to say taxation is extortion
Ah,
more
now
than it is theft.
there.
But taxation is theft rolls off the tongue a
But
lot
of
better.
course, taxation is extortion doesn't work with sales tax either because it's voluntary.
Right. That's why that's okay. That's why most libertarians will say that a sales tax is okay because it is voluntary.
Why don't they change it to what it really should say? Taxation is inconvenient. I mean,
Well, it's more than just inconvenient.
no, it's not.
It's extortion.
It could be
Like that's
considered
way different
extortion.
than just being inconvenient. I mean, like stubbing your toe is inconvenient. Having someone put a gun to your head and take your money is not just inconvenient.
Oh, it's an inconvenience because now I don't
Oh,
have
it
my
is.
money.
It is absolutely, but it's not just an inconvenience. There's a
No,
lot more to it.
but
It's also
taxation is theft
potentially
is not
deadly.
all taxes. See, so there's gray areas. So no matter what you say, so if you say it's
Yeah, but
inconvenient, it's just a
it
gray
starts a
area,
fucking
John.
conversation though, didn't it? So there.
Yes,
Exactly what Midget B
but
said. Memes are simple. Right. Memes are
but
simple.
an I will say this on the topic of discussion. If your premise to the beginning of a discussion forces you to instantly have to backtrack your premise statement, think about it.
No,
Think
you
about it.
can't make me.
And memes are fucking stupid anyway.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
how dare you?
They are. Overall, they're
How
just fucking
dare
stupid.
you? Memes are why we have the president we have, sir.
Memes are what? No.
And we know how much you love Trump. I know you're the biggest Trump fan, so you should love memes. What's next? Funny memes for
Henry, that
us.
tax money that was spent was ordered by your executive branch. So you need to talk to the executive branch about giving that money back.
Yeah, well, we should just not be taxed as much. We
I
should just,
mean, when it's all
have a
said and
sales
done,
tax.
if America wants their money back on that fucking investigation, they need to go to Donald Trump and ask him
Oh my god. Yeah,
why.
and
Where's the
or
money?
we can just force, or we can, have no income tax, right? Go to a sales tax based system and
Fair
force the government
tax.
to live within their means. How crazy is that? The rest of us have to live within our means. Why should they have to live outside their means?
Well, we don't have to live within our means.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sorry. Welfare what? Unemployment what? These are things
Yeah.
outside. This is extra.
You only get so many welfare ducats. You can only spend so much. You only have so much
Social
EBT.
programs aren't part of within your means. Those aren't considered in your means.
Yeah, I would have no problem with getting rid of those.
Wow. Could you imagine?
I could.
You you can't imagine the chaos.
Yeah, I could.
Really?
That's why again with the fair tax plan, there's a UBI built into it. So boom, there you go. There's your social safety net.
No, ultimately a lot of people would just rather see all the social nets go away, all the taxes go away, and there we are. So, we don't spend money on social programs, and we get rid of taxes outside of a fair tax.
Hmm.
We've got so many jobs now available that
Oh, you know
all of
what?
those
I
people would
can't
be able to go
wait.
to work. So we could fix everything right now by getting rid of all social programs and instituting the fair tax, and our country would be fixed.
I'm not saying it would be a
Would
hundred
that be
percent.
close?
No, I don't think it would 100% fix everything. That's ridiculous. No one thing is going to fix
No, that's
everything.
two things.
But I can't wait until we on Monday when we have Keenan Dunham on. He's going to wreck you. He probably knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. But he's going to wreck you on this. I'm going to make sure we bring this up
I
about
can't be
taxes.
wrecked when I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, but I've answered all your questions plenty of times
Have
before.
you? Have you,
Oh yeah,
John?
oh yeah,
Because taxation is theft.
it is.
I don't know. I
Just
don't
because,
know.
like I said, just because you smile while you give the money away with a gun to your head, doesn't mean you're not being robbed.
No, I just understand the purpose of it. I mean, if they made income tax
Right, the mugger needs to
voluntary, I
too.
would sign up to pay income tax in. I would be on board with paying income tax if it was
That's pretty
voluntary.
ridiculous.
Why? Our government needs money to fund the
They don't need
infrastructure.
your they don't need to take out of your check before you even get a hold of it. That's ridiculous.
As much money as they're fucking losing, they need money from wherever the fuck they can get it, John. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, that's why they keep
think
adding
about
more
it.
taxes.
I know,
Yeah,
that's
which
what
is
I'm saying. Well,
I know
actually, they just rolled taxes back.
it's almost like we should force them to live within their means, just like everybody else. How fucking crazy would that be? Oh man.
So let me ask you this though, John.
Hmm.
How different would that mindset be if we didn't have the kind of loopholes that we have for businesses like Amazon to get away with multiple
Oh, they would
years
be the
of no
first ones.
taxes?
They would be the first ones to be pushing for it. If they were forced to pay 100% of the taxes that they were supposed to pay,
No,
they'd be all about getting rid of these
I.
income taxes
But
and all these other
that's not the question I'm
corporate
asking
taxes.
you. I'm asking you what difference would it make in our economy if these companies were actually paying in the taxes that they were supposed to?
There'd
And
be a lot less of these huge companies that were employing thousands of people.
is that all you think,
It,
John? That if companies
what? Yeah,
actually paid their dues, that companies would go away because they had to pay the taxes that they're supposed
not
to?
because they had to pay the taxes. It's a that's the end result. And yes, Michael Vega, I do see what you did there, and it was fucking awesome. I would love to sing it, but I can't sing, and Robert will give me shit if I try to sing. But it is very good, and I notice you. Senpai has noticed you, and appreciates your efforts.
Just to point out, when I was a kid, I always thought that said "wrapped up like a douche,"
Yeah,
and
in the
it
middle of the
wasn't a
night.
douche. And
No,
by the way, it's revved up like a deuce.
yeah,
Just just
it
FYI,
is.
because it's a car. He was talking about a deuce
Right,
coupe.
right.
Revved up like a deuce, another roamer in the night. That's
Blinded by the light.
yeah.
See,
Remember
that's
when you
why
said
that's
you
why I don't
shouldn't
sing.
sing?
Right. No, I was just showing that there's
We
a good
didn't need the
reason
example, John.
why I shouldn't sing. Yeah,
There would be more middle-sized businesses in competition with fewer massive corps. And so, what's
that's
the
what I was trying
problem
to
with
get
that?
to.
What's the problem with that? Do we want massive corporations?
Sometimes, especially
Really?
like Amazon. Yeah, ones that are able to reach the entire country, so you can get things from one place to another place. You need corporations in each of those states in order to,
So,
get things to those states.
so you think these mega corporations are good?
Did I say that?
I'm just saying that.
I
So
don't
you
think
think they're
all.
vi-
That's too much of a blanket statement. I don't think all mega
Okay.
corporations are
Now
good
you understand
things.
what I was
No,
saying about taxation as theft.
it
Okay,
is.
blanket
Yeah.
statements, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so a mega corporation like Amazon, right? Right now, we already talked, they don't pay taxes, but they're growing bigger and they're growing bigger. They're about to take over all their own shipping. They're building an airport, they have ships, they have planes, they have trucks.
Hmm.
They are going to, so they're not going to need to use FedEx, Postal Service,
Right.
UPS anymore. So now those businesses are going to lose so much money because this mega corporation is now taking on its own shipping. Amazon is basically, if it's something that they need to do for their business to function, they're now just going to go ahead and build it themselves and do it themselves, make it all a part of their big megalomaniac mega corporation. And at the
Hmm.
same time, not pay fucking taxes for any of the business they're doing in this country.
See, I don't know if that's true. I saw something that was disputing that. I don't remember what the arguments were, so I'm not going to even try. But yeah, no, apparently they did pay taxes. They just didn't pay a certain tax, and that's what everyone picked up on. And I forgot what it was exactly. Um, so we'll have to look into that later. But yeah, no, apparently they did pay a shitload of tax. It just wasn't the one that everyone wanted them to pay or something or some shit like that. I forget what it was.
Yeah, and and
This
then
was
of
a while
course there's
ago.
a fine line there. Were they paying? Because I think isn't there like a difference between the taxes that they have to pay yearly versus say business taxes throughout the
Right. Well,
year?
there's quarterly. Usually, businesses will pay quarterly. And then there's obviously the individual state taxes that they pay for having their warehouses and whatnot in different states
Sure,
or distribution centers in states. I mean, there's tons and tons of different taxes that they pay.
but they've also proven that they can find ways around those as well,
Well, of course, yeah.
right?
No, they're
They
not
use
finding it.
pressure and power to.
It's more like writing off things that enables them to, or making like separate corporations, separate entities that then either pay its own taxes, so therefore it's not on Amazon itself to pay taxes. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do as a business to kind of get around that.
Right. And ultimately that's my biggest issue with these big corporations is the amount of loopholes that have been built into our
Right. So
tax code.
if you made taxes much simpler to where there is no loophole, then you can't get away with not paying your taxes because you're gonna pay taxes. Like there's no loopholes.
So, in my opinion, when Midget says there would be more middle class, middle sized businesses in competition with fewer massive corporations, that that sounds like a very viable and workable economy. I mean, when you have a larger middle class,
Hmm.
that's good because right now it's kind of falling into the separation where you have lower income class, you have upper income class, and the middle class is continually shrinking. So is that not
Hmm.
like a better scenario that we want? Force taxes through easier tax code on these mega corporations so that we
Right, and a sales
force.
tax would do that best. Yeah,
Would a sales tax do it?
a sales-based
So
tax system would do
you mean
that
like the
best.
fair tax, right? So every
Right.
time they buy a new truck, they pay taxes on it. Every time they buy an
Hmm.
airplane, they're paying their taxes on it.
Right.
But the
Every time they fill up the tanks of those trucks or airplanes, they're paying a tax on it. Every time they maintain it, every time they put a new engine part in, every nut and bolt has been taxed on its way up.
okay,
And
so
that's
let me ask you this. So from the standpoint of Amazon as a company, they don't produce anything, right? They're not a production
just jobs.
business, right?
At the moment, all they do is produce jobs. Yeah.
Okay, so
No, I mean they do have some things that they sell. There's like Amazon,
well, you have like
like
Alexa and Fire TV.
these headphones themselves were Amazon uh basics. They're called Amazon Basics. That's all. It's 15
Right, they're
bucks.
branded as Amazon Basics.
Sure. So I mean, they're obviously paying
So I guess
to have the name on
I
there.
guess the question goes to: are they doing the manufacturing? Right?
I
is it
doubt it.
Amazon that's manufacturing, or much like many things you buy on there, is it just third party?
It's probably third party. Yeah.
Okay, so for the most part, we'll avoid the generalization. For the most part, Amazon produces nothing. Right? It's all about transacting business between third
It's
parties and
services,
consumers.
right?
Right?
Services rather than.
So, isn't it necessary, even if we're looking from a fair tax, all of that business, the service aspect of it, does the fair tax account for that to be taxed?
For what, the services?
Right. So, yeah, a state will gather a little bit of state tax on the sale, but
Hmm.
Amazon doesn't have to pay any taxes for the millions of transactions that they facilitate.
Amazon doesn't pay the tax unless
Well,
they're ones selling it.
right. So as a business though, their business model is just being a go-between. So,
Well, I mean, they use up a lot of like warehouse space. Like they'll have stuff in the warehouses. That's how they get stuff to you quickly. Even though it's they're facilitating the sale, but you don't order something and then that person that you're buying it from boxes it up and sends it to you. Amazon has it at their warehouse that they have stock.
right.
And so that is what would be. I'm guessing that would be taxed. So they're probably
So,
charging someone to hold their stuff there. That is the part that would be
well,
taxed.
hold on. So, if I understand how they do it, they aren't actually buying any of that product that they have in their warehouses. It is
No, no, no.
contracted to just be
Right,
sent there and then
right,
sold
right.
from that point, right?
That's what I'm saying.
They're
Yeah,
just
that's
making
what I was saying.
they're just making a little bit off the top as a middleman.
Right, right. They're charging
Right.
the person to hold their stuff in their warehouses,
In a sense, on the sale, right? They
and
just take
that
a
is
cut
what
of the
and that
sale.
is right, and that is what would be taxed. Yes.
Who would tax that?
Either the states or the federal government. If it's over state lines,
And that falls
then that would
outside of
be
the fair tax that's being charged on the product itself to the consumer.
what? No. So wait. So when you buy something from Amazon, there's already tax. It's like state taxes that are
Right. There'll
put
be a
on there.
state tax on there, right?
Right.
Right. So that's going to be charged between you and the third party vendor on the sale. Amazon is just providing a platform for that sale to happen. So
Right.
Amazon
But
doesn't have
the stuff
anything
that
to
they're
be.
holding in when they charge that person to hold their stuff in their warehouses,
But they don't.
until they sell. Then
They just
how are they
when the
making money then
sale
when they're
happens, they take a cut of that company's profit.
right? But that product is being held in their warehouses, and they're
Right.
charging these people to hold their products in their
Right.
warehouses until they're sold. So they're charging them to hold their products, like I said, in the warehouse until those products are sold. So that money that they're charging is what gets taxed in
So
that case.
when a sale goes through, $10 sale goes through, and it's actually
Hmm.
$11 with a $1 sales tax, right? So Amazon facilitates that sale. The third party vendor is going to make $4 in profit, and Amazon says, we're going to take 25% of your profit. So Amazon gets $1 of that sale. The sales
Hmm.
tax is already paid by the consumer to the state. So
Hmm.
that dollar Amazon gets off that sale, that
Hmm.
is allowed to be taxed.
Right.
And they have to account for all of those dollars and then what, pay a tax at the end of the year
I don't
or
know. I
quarterly?
don't. Probably quarterly. I don't know exactly how the sales tax says it would be paid for businesses like that. Like I said, I'm not like an expert on all this, but
And so
that's
the
yeah,
state
that's my
would
general
so the
understanding.
state would get their sales tax paid by the consumer for the purchase, and then they look at Amazon and say that dollar you made off the sale, you
Hmm.
have to pay us some sales tax too.
Right. Either that, or it'll be the case where the state, like the state, Washington State, where Seattle has its headquarters, would be the ones to tax Amazon, and then from there, the states are taxed by the federal government.
Right, right. So
So it's one or the other.
it's just a matter because it's hard for me to understand how providing a service factors into paying a tax in a
Right.
fair tax system, right? So when you look at somebody like Facebook, like they're not exchanging goods, right? Facebook is
Well, they
just a
are.
platform. What do
Well, they are though. They're they're selling ad
Okay,
space.
so they sell ads. So that
Hmm.
ad can be taxed
Right.
by a state.
Right.
Or is it it's
Or
got to
by
be
the federal
it's
government.
just
I'm not sure exactly right how
yeah,
they would go
that's
about it, but one or the other would tax them, and then the federal government would tax the states, so they would
because
still get some of that money anyway.
because if you're talking about a fair tax, ultimately it it comes down to okay, so then all of like Amazon's money would just go to the states that they actually have facilities in, headquarters in, you know, right? If it's on a
Yeah.
state level, if that's where our fair tax is at a state level. So it's like, okay, so they have, say they have two headquarters in America, suddenly those states have a shit ton of revenue, just like Amazon, wherever they have headquarters. That's where that tax revenue would be going into, is that specific state. Does that not
Yeah,
lopside
yeah,
things?
Henry, I agree. He said this tax talk is making my head hurt. I'm gonna go drink some liquor. You ladies have fun. Yeah, I mean we're over time anyway, and we actually have Keenan Dunham coming on Monday, so I'd love to talk to him about this
I don't
as
even
well.
know who
Get
that
kind of
is.
yeah, I know. We'll get some further
Oh, he's the
you know
2020
clarification
candidate.
on that. Yeah,
Wait, and he knows about taxes? I thought he knew about
yeah,
space.
he does. He also knows about space, so we'll talk to him about that as well.
All right, so fair tax in space. Got it.
Well, he's actually against the fair tax, so I want to kind of talk to him about that. He's more of a flat tax kind of guy, so I would love to talk to him about that. But yeah, let's get out of here though.
I've heard
I'm
of
pretty
rumor
sick of that
taxation
flat tax.
is theft.
It's a true rumor,
It's not.
100% true.
Yeah. All right, folks. So we're gonna get the hell out of here. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the like button anyway. Hit the subscribe button. Tell other people to hit the
Yes,
subscribe
do
button.
that.
John, there's stuff down there, right down there. Can you tell
Down
them
here?
about that? Right there, right there.
Oh yeah.
Look,
So
right.
yeah,
There's
we have
one there, and right
right.
there under.
We have a couple of things like Robert was saying. We have a like button over there. We used to have a dislike button, but that's broken now. So you'll just have to hit the like button. We'll sort that out later. We have a subscribe button as well, a little bell next to it, so you can get all of our little notifications. And then we've got Twitter, a link to our Twitter, which is at the Gen Gap P. And we have our Discord link, so you can come be a part of the drama and shit show that is our Discord server. And we've also got a link to Freedom Scoop, which is a new platform that we're on, and a cool, fun little website that Jake from Freedom Scoop runs. And there's some other people on there, like Jay Edgar's on there, Stephen Ignoramus is on there, and a couple other people, but they don't really matter. And so yeah, we hope to see you guys over there.
Everybody matters, John.
No one matters except for us.
All lives matter.
No lives matter.
All right, folks, it's been real. It's been real. So, all right, we're gonna get the hell out of here. We're gonna be back on Monday night shooting the shit with Keenan Ivory Wayans. What? Who is it?
Keenan Dunham,
Keenan Dunham.
2020 20 presidential candidate for Libertarian something. I don't think he's part of the LNP, the National Party. I think he's just independently running.
It'll be interesting. It'll be our first show of our second year on
That's
the air,
right.
John. We're moving into year 2. I've gotten so much gray hair. All right, so
Yeah.
outside of that, look for us again next Friday as well. We'll be on here, and we may have something going on then. See if John can set something up and make the
Yeah.
magic happen. Otherwise, hit us up in Discord. I love talking in Discord, and
Yes.
you never know. You may be Tinchy's next victim. So,
That's right.
you know. All right, folks, we're out of here. We're gonna have yourself a good night. We will talk to you soon. Peace.
Yeah. See you guys.